really, I think we're coming close to the end now. I'm just going to throw it out to an open discussion. You know, what is it that you would like to see, or what is it you would like to see have, you know, developments in the system, or do you have anything to say? The question was, do I have any plans for translation service? Well, we wouldn't control that. The challenge with any type of translation, we can do that automatically. If we do it in an automated fashion, then it's going to produce a lot of silly stuff. Now, if we have the book back into the booking engine, we have the microsites, we have everything like that. The stuff like 2 double beds, which is set in carved in stone, we can translate all that. We have in many cases. That's already done in French and Spanish. Where it gets difficult to control are the real descriptions or the hotel descriptions. If we do an automated translation on that, then that's a little bit funny. Now, for example, Mike in Quebec City, almost his own words, as the bastion of French culture, they were very, very sensitive to their hoteliers' use of the English language as well as the French language. So what they do is they give only twice per year. The hoteliers have the opportunity to update their French and English text in their D3000 system. It's proofed by their own staff. Then it's exported out to Meridian. They only give them twice per year to look at that. So if you're going to turn around, what do you think, Spanish?
No, I mean,
Let's say, for example, if you're going to turn around and go Spanish, then you have to almost, okay, I'm going to translate this. You have to assign a charge. Every time a hotel changes something, you're going to, how do you have that updated immediately? Again, that's only for the text descriptions. The rest of the booking engine, you know, the stuff that they see, like, you know, their amenities list, that's all fully automated. That can be done once, and they don't have to worry about that. That comes from us. We already have that done in both French and in Spanish. Sorry.
Just on the French side, we do our own translation on, obviously, but the widget, the French side, what would, and maybe this is a floating question, but until it's fully populated on French, it doesn't show up at all. And I'm wondering if there's any way to default it to, you know, we put in French in the field, but if there's nothing in the field,
Then we're going to have a mixture of languages. What's the consumer going to see? What's he going to say?
but it means that we have not used our French side at all because it's not fully populated. So just
I could go back to programming and ask, but what would the consumer say? That's my question. If all of a sudden the consumer is coming down the French gateway and half of it's in English, they're going to say, well, the system's not working because it's half English, half French, but they don't know it's programmed that way.
well, I do think it depends on our consumer audiences because it's better to see a French site with some English in it than no French site at all. So
Okay, well, he would,
Yeah.
he would not say that behind you, and then Ottawa Tourism also probably wouldn't go for that either. There has to be all French or nothing.
or
We
nothing
usually
at all.
don't go, nothing goes live unless French and English are ready.
Well, sure, but what I'm saying is, on the French side, it has to be 100% populated all the time to show up, or it doesn't show up. And what I'm saying is, in some cases, it may be okay to default in some cases, to show something, because right now, everything is 40% French, right? So we just need to, and it may not be a question here, but I'm just saying that we need to make sure it's there.
Okay, I'm the consumer. I complain to you the next day, the system's not working. It's half English, half French. What are you going to tell me? Change it back 1 week later? What would you do naturally? Half the consumers start complaining it's half French, half English.
Because we had our own site before,
Yeah.
right? So our event calendar, for instance, you can submit an event to our event calendar.
Right?
We have lots of francophone events, we have lots of anglophone events, we have lots of just about. If there's nothing in the box for the francophone side, it shows at least the basic information.
In English.
In English.
And were your customers happy? They didn't complain?
No, not so much.
Okay, that's where I was really getting. Were they
That's
complaining?
Apologize.
Is the
Yeah.
possible, like, the fact that it's not showing up, it's not fully populated, is that something that your individual hotels aren't going to get populated?
Well, it's not, it's, yes, partly.
I was just trying to figure out, like, what is the people like it, and then we do, see where your pictures don't show up, or okay, sometimes doesn't show up, so we just usually log in and call the hotel. On occasions, we will go translate things, if we need to translate it,
So just what, from our personal experience with the two other organizations who play bilingual, that's a no-go. They would never do that.
Well, as Ottawa, we really run into that, like, French English pressure, and if we went live with something that was English only, we would immediately hear a backlash, but that's who's on our side.
I have here Groupon that's been proposed a couple times. You each have different sizes of your own email databases. Niagara Falls Tourism, I think, was the one that came to us first with the concept of building a Groupon-style module. I don't know how many they have, but they would turn around, they would send out their own email data blast, those specific offers, and have them transacted right through their engine as opposed to a Travelzoo or a Groupon-style engine with a much higher commission. Work with our hoteliers, help us to help you. It's not that big of a bill, but it's something that we're contemplating. Is there anything else, Mark?
John, what about the capability for inventory control attractions, theaters, campgrounds, to be able to select specific seats?
That comes, okay, well, that's what we're doing very shortly with Tessitura. Now, that Tessitura is a fairly common theater software system. Again, we would have to interface, if it's a theater organization, if it's the ability to select a seat, then their vendor, their software vendor, has to have an API in place. First of all, to let us reach in there and grab it. Then, are they going to charge for that? That's the second question. In many cases, they're not going to give that for free. There's going to be some type of charge because there's a little bit of work on their side. It's not always the case. We had a wonderful conversation with Vancouver's system the other day. They're sort of an event ticketing system which has visual maps and whatnot. They'll be sending us over the documentation. It looks like there will be no charge. So it really comes down to the individual vendors. We have to have their cooperation first. But it is feasible. But you will see it very shortly. Again, because Stratford Festival and its role in RTO4 as being, pretty much the biggest attraction out there. And they would certainly want the ability to turn around and allow all these B&Bs and hotels to link in there and buy tickets associated with other attractions or with their own properties. That's going to be coming very, very shortly. Because the Stratford Festival has finally got out and created their own API with this whole seat map system in. We've got a process, how the whole thing is going to roll out. So it is feasible. You just need to have that cooperation on their side. If it's anything to do Ticketmaster, just forget it. It's not going to happen. They're just so big, they can't be bothered with guys like us. It depends upon that vendor. Smaller companies can be far more proactive and easier to work with.
This is a different topic altogether, but just going back to Pegasus for a moment, I have a question about whether or not any of the stuff that you talked about today, John, the dashboard reporting, for example, or even the mobile, is there any limitations as far as Pegasus sales or Pegasus?
They're all recorded.
That's all included in the dashboard, for example.
All reports, it's all recorded there.
Okay.
Because every booking, it doesn't make a difference where we grab the inventory, whether it's Easy Yield or Pegasus or from OTA interface, we still record that transaction in our system. So based upon what's recorded in our system, we produce the reports. I see a hand up here.
Just curious on kind of what your process is on all these cool things you've been talking about with us. It's almost like we need a menu list.
Well, what I'll be doing is I will turn around and I will email out the PDF of this presentation. So I gladly distribute it. You can further distribute it to all your team members back in the DMO. You can review that, call us up thereafter. Again,
It's not a quick thing, is it? I mean, these things are not going to be changed, they're not going to happen.
no, I think the most important thing is the mobile component. We've been pushed very directly and very strongly by a lot of our DMOs because they're seeing on their own Google Analytics, their own systems, that in some cases, 30% of the traffic is now coming from a mobile device. And then naturally, the DMO staff is being pushed by their board of directors to get something done. So that's, and we're very close to the start of the season. We want to get that up as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And then it'll come down to, what we think, sometimes when you do a plug-in, you might plug 3 or 4 things in at once because it's easier for us to do as opposed to one specific element, all goes in at once.
So based on that, John, I had the same thought. So we're all sitting in this room, we're all gonna go away and put in issue track or requests or things for this stuff. I'm being a pain in the ass, but I would like to know how you're gonna go through all of this work that you're creating for yourselves today.
And
Right.
that's
then
true.
also, so what I would ask is how, knowing how your process works, and then it's okay for you to say, that's gonna take 3 weeks, this is gonna take a month, this is gonna take 6 months, just so we have some
Okay.
understanding of managing expectations.
All right. I would do, before you come back and say, okay, we're going to actively do this, I'm going to go back and say, okay, when you say act, are you realistic about it? Are you going to really have something in place? Because we've done a lot of programming in the past where it's done, it's implemented, and it hasn't been used for 3 or 4 months ahead of time. It sits there. So if after the end of this process, now this email goes out to everybody, this is what we've done. Now you're going to come back with a variety of different requests, and we have to allocate a certain amount of resources to get this in. Yet we have other things lingering in the background at the same time. Again, we'll go back and talk to everyone, well, pick one or 2 things on your list of 4 or 5 that you really think that you have the capability to get done right away.
Is that you, for you or for us?
I've asked you to say, pick the 1 or 2 things that you think you're going to do. And I don't want you to create a shopping list. I want you to say, okay, we can commit to this. We will get this done on our end as well. We put that upgrade in.
So I guess, in a more general sense, even just little stuff that goes into issue track or any of that, kind of a time, wait time?
Yeah.
would
Well,
help us.
I understand. Again, for us, I appreciate your patience. The last 6 months, at any one given time, half of the development team is on that mobile. That was the thing. Sometimes 3/4, and sometimes almost everybody was on it just to get it ready for today. Once we finalize that off and we start to free up a little bit of resources to go back and handle those day-to-day issues, and I can put forward a longer time and say, okay, well, Meredith, this might get plugged in 2 months. Then what always happens is, what happens like this attraction to Vancouver came out of the blue, unexpected. They said, well, here's this great thing. I take a look at something like that. And I say, well, here is another way to sell something. And I think it has some validity. I think it has the ability to be ported across maybe 10 to 15 of our clients. Hopefully they would use it. And that's the decisions I always had to make. You're taking a myriad of different requests. What has the greatest success factor? What has the greatest precedence? And try to work that in with some understanding. I can appreciate sometimes it's frustrating for a lot of you. If you take a look at what we do as an entire whole, how much we've done in the course of a year or the last 2 years, it's quite substantial. That won't change. It's only going to be another 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe somebody's got another great idea. I would hope that maybe that great idea will lead to some long-lasting sales.
So I guess just knowing
If
what's
it's,
going on.
yeah, I can work a little bit better on getting those timelines, yes. Chuck?
Now, do any of your GMOs have experience with packages where not all the components have a profile on Meridian? With 1 or 2 items that are part of the package, but aren't part of the Meridian system?
No. No, I couldn't, how would you sell that? What are you thinking of, Chuck?
What I'm thinking is, if I'm going to sell, a 2-night, 3-day cycling tour,
Right.
which includes, all the different attractions, which will all be part of Meridian, but also comes with a guide and a safety truck, because it's limited time. That guy might not want to go up on Meridian, but he's always part of the package, because the package is sold at specific times.
Is he,
And then I would just have a sub-agreement with him and just pay him for his time.
but is he adding a dollar figure into the equation?
Yeah, which I can just like, right?
You could create a simple line item, say cycling guide. You're not setting him up, and you just layer that in. It's very simple for you to do that.
Perfect. So I
Yeah.
want to know if anyone's doing it and how effective it's been.
You could choose not to fill out a microsite. That's an inclusive component. You give it a very brief description, and ultimately, you're going to pay back the partner for the sales.
The hotels do it too, with the hotel and packaging, they build in whatever they want.
Exactly.
Right. I don't tell them, I say.
Yeah, hotel, and they have
Yeah. You know, in the case of Ottawa, they got their own, in that Ottawa, the Rideau Center coupon book is something similar. There's no cost to that. It's a line item. It goes into almost every package. It's a value added percentage. It's something similar.
as long as it's being fulfilled, I guess, or not.
It is being fulfilled, yeah. And you can assign a value to it. It just goes, pays right back to the operator.